Revealed, Millionaire's daughter, hidden for 10 years, sings life-changing duet with Nanny. In a town where fortunes were spoken about in whispers and dreams lived in the shadows, Sarah felt trapped. For 17 years, she had been confined to her father's grand estate, a gilded cage where silk drapes and marble floors contrasted starkly with the heavy weight of expectation. Memories of the community center, a vibrant hub of laughter and connection, faded like the colors of her childhood, replaced by her father as constant reminders of their status, his stern voice echoing in her mind. "We can't have you roaming around with those people," he'd say, as if the townsfolk were somehow lesser beings. The world outside her window beckoned her full of life, filled with possibility. Yet, it was Lily, her loving Nanny, who forged a bond deeper than the steel bars of her crumbling cage. With every gentle word, she instilled values of empathy and hard work, showing Sarah the beauty of kindness over arrogance. In those quiet moments spent baking cookies or tending to the garden, they created a world of their own, a tapestry woven with laughter and subtle heartaches. But the sweet sense of home were clouded by worry. News rippled through the town that the community center would close its doors, leaving a void that seemed to suck the joy from the air. Sarah's heart clenched at the thought. She knew the center was a sanctuary for so many, a place where friendships blossomed and dreams took flight. It stirred something deep within her, an ember of courage nudging her to find a way to help. One rainy afternoon, Sarah poured her soul into writing a song with Lily. They crafted a melody that embodied their shared experiences, each note drawing inspiration from those struggling to keep the dream of connection alive. The lyrics flowed, rich with emotion, stories of resilience that rang true in every line, their harmony a testament to hope. This song could revive the spirit of the town, and Sarah's heart raced at the prospect. But when Sarah shared her plan, the storm inside her home erupted. Her father, a man dressed in silk but bound by iron clutches of control, stood firmly against it. "You will not participate in that event. Showcasing our struggles is beneath us." His cold, harsh words slipped into her chest like ice. Just when Sarah wrestled with despair, she met Marco, a local musician, one fateful evening. His eyes were alive with passion as he spoke of overcoming hardships and breaking free from chains. His story hummed with authenticity, stirring something in Sarah that had been dormant for too long. Could she really step into the light? The day of the performance dawned, the clouds overhead mirroring the tempest in Sarah's heart. When she stood on that stage, hand in hand with Lily, a hush fell over the crowd, the air crackling with anticipation. Their duet began, raw and powerful, carrying the message of strength so needed in that moment. But just as the song hit its emotional peak, Sarah's gaze darted to the back of the crowd, the unmistakable silhouette of her father, arms crossed, shadowing her like an approaching storm. Would he silence her voice? Would the community rise alongside her, or would she be swallowed by her father's dark cloud? The applause crashed around her like thunder, yet her heart raced with insecurity. This was her moment, but uncertainty loomed heavy. It asked, what would her father do? Could she find her true self in a world filled with privilege and expectations? The questions lingered, an invitation to the next chapter, where her fate hung tantalizingly in the balance. As the last note faded, a trembling hush hung in the air, thick with possibility. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, drowning out the applause that erupted from the crowd. Her eyes remained fixed on her father, whose stone-cold expression cast a shadow over her moment of glory. The warmth of the audience's admiration felt distant, an echo rather than a comfort. What would he do? The question felt electrifying, buzzing like a bee in her mind. She caught Lily's reassuring gaze, but even that small beacon of hope struggled to penetrate the murky doubt swirling around her. The grass beneath her feet felt too solid, anchoring her in a reality where her father's voice loomed large. Suddenly, something shifted within her, ignited by the raw authenticity of the moment. Their song represented far more than just a melody. It was a lifeline, a chance to connect with the world she had been longing for. Sarah inhaled deeply, filling her lungs with courage. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice steadying despite the tremors in her heart. The crowd responded with an uproar of cheers, and Sarah felt a wave of warmth wash over her. Angela, the town's mayor, emerged from the crowd with tears streaming down her cheeks. "That was beautiful. You brought us together again." Seeing the joy and hope reflected in her community's faces ignited a spark inside Sarah. The warmth radiated through her, sending shivers down her spine. Maybe this was her moment to grasp what she had always yearned for, a life defined not by gilded expectations, but by the beautiful chaos of real connections. But then, her father's voice echoed in the depths of her mind, reminding her of the boundaries that had always prevailed. "You don't belong here," it sneered at her. "You will never fit in with them." But the crowd's laughter and excitement now competed against that cruel whisper. Was it possible that she could break free? Just as those waves of thought washed over her, Marco pushed his way through the crowd. With a wide grin, he reached for her hand, and adrenaline surged through her. "You were amazing, Sarah." "This is only the beginning," he said, pulling her into a brief embrace. "Don't let anyone tell you different." For a moment, time stood still. His warmth enveloped her, filling the cracks left by years of confinement. But as their eyes met, she could see the shadows of her father's presence creeping closer, a reminder of the conflict she would soon have to face. Suddenly, the spotlight felt hotter, and panic began to stir at the edges of her heart. The cheers faded, and reality rushed in like a tide. Would her father pull her back? Would all of this slip through her fingers as easily as sand? At that moment, Sarah made a conscious choice. She turned to the crowd, holding Marco's gaze steady and firm. I have more to say," she called out, her voice rising above the swell of emotion. Gasps rippled through the audience, eyes wide with curiosity and encouragement. Her father's frown deepened, a clear warning. "Please," she continued, "join me in saving the community center. It isn't just my home, it's ours. We need to fight for our dreams and for each other. Together, we can make a change." Gasps replaced applause. The crowd surged as murmurs echoed through the air, fueling an unexpected movement, an awakening fueled by passion and desperation, a united call for change. But just as she spoke those hopeful words, Sarah felt the tightening grip of her father's hand around her arm. The resolve in her heart quaked, and her breath hitched as she turned to meet his seething glare. "You will regret this," he warned in a voice low and dangerous. The threat loomed like a storm cloud over her joy. That instant, Sarah stood at a crossroads, feeling the ground shift beneath her. Could she truly stand up against the man who had defined her, or would she remain silent, forever echoing the beliefs of her past? With uncertainty surging like a tidal wave, she pushed against the pull of her father's hand. It was time for her to make a choice, one that could change everything. The question tickled at her heart. Would she rise up, or would she allow herself to be swallowed by the darkness threatening to drown her voice? As the audience waited with bated breath, Sarah felt the weight of the moment settle in. Would the next chapter of her life be written in light, or would it dim under the shadow of her father's control? Fear coursed through Sarah like ice as her father squeezed her arm tighter. She could feel the anger radiating off him, thick and suffocating. Every warning look he shot her way was another reminder of the life she had been trapped in for so long. But the thrill of the moment surged within her, igniting a fire she hadn't known existed. "Let me go," she whispered, eyes wide and pleading. But her father just tightened his grip. He leaned in closer, his breath warm, but his tone slicing like a gleaming knife. "You don't know what you're doing. These people will leave you the moment you make a mistake." Before she could respond, a chorus of voices erupted behind her. Let her speak. A wave of anger and solidarity rolled from the crowd, washing over her father's imposing figure. Feeling the shift, Sarah steadied herself. She needed to break free from the chains of his authority. Taking a deep breath, she released it slowly as she shook her arm, hoping to elicit sympathy from the crowd. "They're not here to judge me," she said, her voice gaining strength. "They're here to support our dreams." In a heartbeat, the initial shock transformed into a swell of encouragement. The crowd began to chant her name, "Sarah! Sarah!" Their voices intertwined like a powerful melody, lifting her spirit. She had sung her heart out, and now they were fighting for it with her. Her father's face twisted in fury, but Sarah turned away, refusing to be swayed by the storm within him. She faced the crowd, the familiar faces now lit with admiration and excitement. She felt something shift, unshackling her from fear. "I know the community center isn't perfect. I know it needs help. But together, we can make it thrive. We can build our dreams right here." She could see Marco beaming with pride, encouraging her from the side. The buzz of hope enveloped her, lifting her higher. Yet, she realized that her conviction would need to stand strong against the storm that her father was brewing, and that fear, once crippling, could no longer bind her. Suddenly, Angela stepped forward, eyes shimmering with tears as she placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "You've always belonged here, Sarah. Your voice deserves to be heard." Then, the unexpected happened. From the back of the crowd, Lily burst forth, her arms raised in triumph. "We will support you, Sarah. Let us come together." Her voice rang out like a clarion call, and the crowd erupted into cheers. Sarah felt the energy surge. It was electric. But amid the chaos, she caught sight of her father slipping further into shadow, the anger morphing into something she hadn't anticipated: desperation. The way he glared at her, it was as though he could sense the power of the movement gathering around her. It was no longer just a performance. It was a revolution. "Enough!" he finally shouted, breaking through the chorus. "You think they care about you? This is a mistake you'll come to regret." Sarah turned back to him, heart racing. She needed to stand firm. "No, father. This is not a mistake. This is my life." Her words felt like a challenge, igniting the flames of defiance within her. A hush fell momentarily, and Sarah's heart galloped in those tense seconds. She felt the weight of everyone's eyes, the mix of worry and hope swirling around her. Could her father really take this away from her? Would she allow it? Her father's eyes darkened further, but for the first time, there was uncertainty etched within them. Sarah took a step forward, driven by a mix of fear and exhilaration. "Everyone here believes in a future we can build together. A future where I can be me. Will you stand with me?" The crowd erupted into cheers again, igniting something inside her she thought was forever extinguished. The sentiment spread, filling the void of uncertainty, but also instilling a new fear, the possibility that her father wouldn't take this defeat lightly. As the echoes of their unwavering support bounced off the walls and trees, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. She had opened a doorway, but now it beckoned darker forces. And as her father's scowl deepened, she wondered what consequences lay ahead for stepping into the light. Would she find the strength to face whatever storm he would create next? But before she could think too far ahead, Marco reached for her hand, looking deeply into her eyes. "Whatever happens, I'm with you." With those words echoing in her heart, Sarah braced herself for the upcoming confrontation, standing firmly at the precipice of change, ready to fight for everything she had long desired. But would her father allow her to escape his grasp, or would he unleash a wrath she had never seen before? Sarah's eyes flickered to the crowd, the faces of her friends brimming with support. It felt like they were all standing shoulder to shoulder, a wall of solidarity against the storm brewing in her father's chest. His body loomed larger, anger radiating from him as if he were about to explode. The tension hung in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Would all of this be enough to break free? Don't let him intimidate you, someone shouted from the back. It was Mark, a quiet voice that carried strength, grounding Sarah with determination. I won T, she promised herself. The weight of the moment swept over her like a wave, but deep inside, a spark flickered. With Marco's hand in hers, she felt anchored. We can't go back. This is our time. Her father's face twisted in disbelief, like he couldn't comprehend how the narrative of power had shifted. You think your little band of misfits can change anything? Do you really believe in this fantasy? His voice was sharp, filled with bitterness, but she would not let his words extinguish her fire. It's not a fantasy. It's our reality. We deserve to chase our dreams. Each word rang in her chest, a heartbeat of truth. The crowd echoed her resolve. Sarah! Sarah! The chants were deafening now. They surged like a tide, raising her higher. Do you hear them? She asked, gesturing toward the supporters behind her. We're building something real. Something that reflects who we are. She felt the connection between them, the electricity flowing through their shared hopes. This was about more than just her. It was about all of them. Her father's scowl shifted, revealing a crack of vulnerability, as if he was wrestling with the emotional fallout of his own decisions. She sensed that the moment was fragile. But before she could explore that wisp of hope, he surged forward, trapping her between his body and the crowd. Your dreams are your weakness. He spat, eyes wild. And I will not let you throw your life away for them. The crowd gasped as her heart dropped. Fear seeped back in, but it was different now. It was laced with strength. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm claiming my life. She squeezed Marco's hand tighter, drawing strength from him and the crowd. His eyes remained locked on her, encouraging her to press on. They needed to work together, push against the darkness her father represented. Stand with me, she called out, centering her attention back to the crowd. Let us show him that we can do this. Together. The energy swelled again, fists raised high as voices joined in unity. But as the cheer rose, so did a cold wind that slipped through the air. Sarah could feel it like a warning. In that moment, she understood. It wasn't just her father's anger she had to contend with. It was the reality of stepping into her true self, the fear of what would happen when the dust settled. Remember, Marco whispered, tilting his head slightly, as if he could read her thoughts. Whatever happens, we're in this together. She nodded, grounding herself in the warmth of connection that spread beyond her father. But what would be the price of that defiance? Could her father accept her newfound strength? Would he retreat, or would he strike back harder? The crowd was a symphony of chanting voices, but in the eye of the storm, all Sarah could feel was the tightrope of her reality. In every heartbeat, she stood on the brink of rebellion, staring into the tempest of her father's wrath. As the moment stretched out, breathless and electric, Sarah steeled herself for what was to come. But in the back of her mind, one thought loomed above all else. What had she unleashed within him, and could she truly withstand his response? In an instant, she knew the battle was just beginning. The heat of the crowd pulsed like a living thing, and Sarah could feel it surging against her father's looming shadow. Each chant, every fist thrust into the air, echoed back her own defiance. But he stood unmoved, rage flickering in his eyes, as if the very air between them was electrified. Enough of this nonsense, he bellowed, and for a moment, the crowd fell quiet, caught off guard. That was all the encouragement Sarah needed. It was now or never. You say it's nonsense, but look around, she shouted, her voice rising, solid as steel. This is our truth. We're fighting for a future where we can be ourselves. The weight of his glare bore down on her, but surrounded by her friends, wrapped in their light, she felt empowered. Her father stepped closer, hands clenched into tight fists. You think they care about your dreams? Look at them. They're all just riding on your coattails. His words sliced through the air, meant to cut. Fear tried to creep back in, but Sarah wouldn't let it. They care because they believe, just like I do, Sarah replied, for every tremor in her voice was now powered by an unwavering belief in her cause and the unity they created. The crowd began to roar again, a wave of sound washing over the tension. Let us show him, Marco said softly, his hand still grasping hers. It felt so right, so grounding. Together they stepped forward, one bold move after another. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah lifted her chin, meeting her father's furious eyes. Her mind raced, and suddenly all the aspirations she had stowed away pulled at her heart, begging for freedom. You've been wrong about us, Dad. We're not weak, and our dreams are our strength. The power of her declaration hung in the air, electrified by the energy of her friends. But Sarah saw doubt creep onto her father's features, and she didn't let the glimmer of vulnerability slip away. We're allowed to be happy. We deserve to be heard. Her chest felt tight and free all at once, but she pushed on. I'm tired of hiding. Tired of being what someone else wants me to be. Her heart raced as she sensed the crowd rallying behind her, a collective heartbeat pulsing in unison, an anthem of rebellion. Don't you see? She urged, voice cracking slightly. This isn't just for us. It's for everyone who has been held back. It's about the freedom to be ourselves. A flicker of pain crossed her father's face. Was it a moment of realization? A glimpse of understanding? That fleeting second stayed with her, a crack forming in his armor. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't entirely lost. What if he changes? A small voice whispered in Sarah's mind. What if she could reach him? But before she could explore the thought, his voice cut through her reflection. Stop this charade. You think you can change the world with your little games? You'll fail. The weight of his words threatened to crush her spirit. But this time, she stood a little taller, fueled by the chorus of support behind her. Then I'll fail trying. But at least I'll know I was brave enough to try. As if ignited, the crowd erupted. Sarah! Sarah! They embodied her conviction, pushing the fear back into the shadows where it belonged. With every chant, her heart soared, but a deep, unsettling fear still nestled in her gut. Was she truly brave enough to face this storm? And what other consequences awaited on the other side? With grit and determination, she steadied herself, ready to meet whatever came next. But what would happen when the dust settled? Would they find a way to bridge this chasm, or was the path set for a fracture deeper than she imagined? The murmurs of the crowd swelled around them, an unpredictable tide that pushed Sarah and her father into a spotlight neither had quite anticipated. It was no longer just Sarah standing her ground. It felt like an entire generation was rising up with her. She could see faces in the crowd, strangers and friends, all pouring their faith into her words. And yet, there was her father, a fortress of disapproval, standing resolute against the storm. For a moment, silence enveloped them again, its weight heavy and suffocating. Sarah's heart raced as she searched her father's gaze, straw grasping at the last vestiges of hope. Would he absorb even a fraction of the love radiating from those who believed in her? Can't you see? She pleaded, her voice raw yet steady. They're not just here for me. They're here because they want to change things, want to be heard. This means something. Her pulse thudded in her ears, each beat a silent prayer that her father could finally understand. He stepped back slightly, visibly grappling with her fervor. The fury in his eyes softened for a heartbeat, replaced by something almost tender, a reflection of the daughter he had raised but hadn't really seen in ages. Just when she thought she caught the shift, his resolve hardened again. What does your happiness matter if it leads to destruction? He said, voice low but fierce. The intensity of his words hung heavy in the air. You think standing up against the world is going to change it? It could ruin everything we built. Tears stung Sarah's eyes, not for herself, but for the wall she saw rising between them. The sacrifice, the love, the protection he thought he was offering, couldn't he see how it stifled her spirit? I'm not trying to destroy anything. I want to build, she explained, desperation creeping in. All I'm asking for is the chance to create something real, something true. The crowd felt it. A collective inhalation rippled through the masses, charging the air. The tension tightened around them like a noose. Sarah squeezed Marco's hand tighter, drawing strength from the warmth radiating between them, from the fire surrounding them, and from the belief that echoed through the rally. And then he, the great and powerful father, shifted again. You're young and foolish, Sarah. His voice cut through her, and a shiver of doubt crawled down her spine. She was about to respond when the passionate chants began to morph into a melody. Someone in the crowd had picked up a beat, and soon it was spilling into the air like wildfire, a song both joyous and defiant. Sarah could feel it pulse through her, igniting every component of her being. This was their anthem. Even her father's stern expression wavered, pulling the edges of his lips downward, as though the melody tugged at him too. The crowd burst with renewed energy, their voices harmonizing like wings flapping to take flight. What if I'm not the one who is foolish? Sarah whispered, almost inaudibly, but she knew he heard. His silence lingered, and for the first time, doubt flashed across his face, mingled with fierce emotion. Perhaps even a glimmer of fear. As the symphony around them grew, Sarah stepped closer, open and honest. This isn't just about us anymore, Dad. It's about everyone who feels lost, who feels unheard. Don't you want to be part of that? To make something beautiful together? The volume of the crowd surged, echoing her words back at them in waves, demanding recognition, begging for connection. But just then, a sharp voice pierced through the music, laden with authority. A figure wearing a blue uniform approached, eyes fixed on the scene with determination. What is going on here? He called out, impatience thick in his tone. Sarah's heart sank. The moment was unraveling, everything she had fought for teetering on the edge. Would they be silenced again? Panic gripped her as she turned to Marco, his expression suddenly serious. We need to protect this. We can't let them take away what we've started. Feeling the urgency flood through her, Sarah locked eyes with her father one last time, words unspoken yet louder than ever. Whatever happened next, they were on the brink of something monumental. Would she stand firm, or would she find a way to dig deeper into her father's heart? The stakes were rising, and their next move could define everything. Would he finally choose to understand, or would fear pull them apart once again? As the officer advanced, Sarah felt the weight of the crowd pulsing against her, their collective heartbeat echoing her own. The melody faded momentarily, tension pulling at the edges of their resolve. The man in blue looked authoritative, a wall of rules and regulations that could obliterate what had been building. Her heart raced, and a bead of sweat trailed down her spine. Please step away from the podium, the officer said, his voice sharp, eyes darting between Sarah and the raging crowd behind her. Let it go, Marco urged, nudging her shoulder lightly, but it felt more like a hand on her chest, heavy and binding. This isn't worth it. But was she really ready to back down? The connection, the electricity coursing through each chant and song, it all filled her. Memories of long nights of dreaming, of planning, surged within her, igniting a courage she hadn't known before. No! Came the sudden declaration from her father, a storm of disbelief and shock unveiling in his features. We're here to speak. He stepped forward, blocking the officer with an unexpected fierceness. His actions felt like a twist in their tail, challenging the very perceptions they held of each other. The officer hesitated, brow tightening in confusion. Sir, I must ask you to let her talk." Her father interrupted, piercing through the officer's authoritative voice with a passion that surprised even himself. He turned slightly, addressing the crowd that had switched its focus, now watching him with anticipation, disbelief merging with hope. These people deserve to be heard. They are not just a problem. They are the solution. As the words left his lips, a ripple of energy surged through Sarah. It was like watching a dam break. The crowd erupted into wild cheers, clapping their hands, stomping their feet, creating a new rhythm, a call to action echoing through the square. Dad, Sarah breathed, feeling tangled with disbelief and gratitude. "Sing, Sarah," he urged, his gaze unwavering. "Let them know why this matters. Show them what we can build." Something shifted within her, like the stars aligning for the first time. She squared her shoulders and raised her chin. "I will." Just then, with the crowd chanting her name, she began to sing a melody so pure, it rose high above the chaos, clinging to the sun-soaked air. Memories filled her mind. She had sung in her room, in the car, wherever she could. But this felt different. This was raw and unfiltered, striking right at the core of who she was. As she sang, her voice intertwined with the spirit of the crowd, a duet of hope and defiance. They joined her, blending together into a chorus that transcended barriers, reaching deep into every heart present. Her father stood at the edge, eyes glistening, a small smile creeping over his worried features. In that moment, it was more than just her voice. It became a collective heartbeat, a reminder of what they were all fighting for, not just the desire for change, but the tears, the dreams, and the connections forged in hope. But as the last note rang out, exulting in the air, jolting bodies, and echoing joy, the officer suddenly interrupted again. "This is a public disturbance," he declared, trying to reassert control, as if drowning in the sea of enthusiasm that had engulfed him. "You need to disperse now." Sarah felt a rush of anxiety, the dam of courage she had built starting to crack. Had they really taken a step forward only to be pushed back? As uncertainty began to spread among the crowd, murmurs of discontent growing against the officer's threat, she realized that everything hinged on her next move. "Together!" she shouted, instinctively grasping Marco's hand again, feeling a surge of warmth and determination course through her. "We can't back down now. We are stronger together." But as the crowd rallied, another figure emerged from the shadows, a woman with a commanding presence who seemed to hold everything in the balance. Their eyes locked across the distance, and Sarah felt a jolt of recognition that sent shivers down her spine. Who was she, and what did she want? The stakes were rising again, with the roar of the crowd buzzing in her ears. Would they surge forward, or would despair silence them once more? The tension grew thicker as Sarah's gaze locked onto the woman. The crowd behind her buzzed with anticipation, their energy palpable. The officer stood, unsure, swaying like a leaf in the wind, caught between his duty and the electric atmosphere. "Who are you?" Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the storm roiling inside her. It felt bold to confront this stranger, yet instinctively she knew that this woman held a pivotal role in the evening's unfolding drama. The woman stepped forward, her confidence shining like a beacon. "I'm Ava," she said, her voice smooth and commanding. "And I think we need to talk." The way she stood there unwavering, powerful, drew the crowd's curiosity. They held their breath, eyes darting between Sarah and the newcomer. "Is this really the time for talk?" Marco whispered to Sarah, worry etched across his face. Yet even his apprehension mingled with intrigue. There was something about this Ava that was magnetic. Ava's presence demanded attention. "Why are you hiding behind rules? You all have something important to say." She gestured toward Sarah, who felt the heat of every gaze upon her. "Let her speak," Ava urged, her tone both persuasive and compassionate. Would they really let her speak? This felt like a turning point. Bravery flared in Sarah's chest as she remembered the faces of those who had fought alongside her, their solidarity igniting hope. "What do you want?" she asked, an edge of defiance creeping into her words. "I want to amplify your voice," Ava replied, her eyes steady. "I've seen this fight. I've been where you are, and I can help you reach more people. But we need the crowd with us, standing together." The crowd muttered, weighing Ava's offer. Could they trust her? For Sarah, it felt like an opportunity, a chance to strip away fear and grasp at something real. "If you believe in this," she began, finding her rhythm. "If you believe in us, then let us show them." Together. A ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd, voices rising like a tide. The officer shifted uneasily, but the shouts of affirmation surrounded him, drowning out the command he tried to reclaim. "This will only end with us speaking up," Sarah declared, her heart pounding. "Let us unite and be heard." Together came the rallying cry, echoing through the square. But then Ava raised her hand, silencing the noise. "I have an idea. If we can create a moment right now, something powerful that brings people together, maybe we can change things. Live music connects us all. Let us turn this into something unforgettable." Her words hung in the air, inviting excitement and trepidation all at once. What did she plan? As Sarah stood on the podium, the adrenaline coursed through her like a current. What if this was their moment? What if, just by singing together, they could inspire not just their own community, but reach far and wide? Before she realized it, Marco stepped beside her, a questioning smile on his face. "You ready for this?" "Ready," Sarah breathed, her heart racing. It felt like releasing 1,000 fireflies into the evening sky, impossible to predict and beautiful in its potential. But just then, as the crowd rallied for another song, a ruckus erupted from behind them. Troubling faces emerged from the shadows. Familiar faces. And suddenly, the air grew thick with an unfamiliar dread. Who were they, and what did they want from all this hope? The crowd paused, uncertainty creeping back in, and Sarah felt the collective heartbeat falter. What had she just unleashed? The moment hung suspended, almost like a breath held too long. The murmurs in the crowd escalated as more familiar faces stepped into the flickering lights. Sarah squinted, searching the shadows for clarity. Her heart drummed loudly in her ears. "Sarah," Marco whispered, uncertainty coating his words as he looked back. "Maybe we should go," but she stood firm. Those faces, they were part of her past, a chapter she thought closed. Memories flooded back unbidden. They looked on with expressions varying from anger to pity, and she refused to allow fear to take over. "Why are you here?" she called out, the strength in her voice surprising even her. The figure that stepped forward was her mother, Marlene, eyes wide and filled with a mixture of regret and something else, determination. "This isn't what you think," Marlene shouted over the din, her voice trembling yet commanding the crowd's attention. "I don't want you to be part of this madness." "Madness?" Sarah retorted, heat rising in her cheeks. "You call this madness? This is me standing up for what's right." The crowd suddenly split between cheers for Sarah and gasps from those who recognized her mother. Murmurs of scandal began to ripple, each whisper playing like a refrain. It was chaos. Confusion danced in the air. Ava, radiant and bold, stepped forward once more, authority radiating from her like warmth. "Everyone, let us hear both sides. What happened here?" With that, Sarah felt the fragile trust they had built fluttering like a leaf caught in a gust. She had chosen this moment, this audience. There was no backing down. "You don't get to decide for me anymore, Mom. This is not about you." "Sarah, please," Marlene's voice cracked, desperation evident. "If they find out who you really are, this will destroy you." She sensed the crowd biting its nails, hanging on every word, as uncertainty spread like wildfire. The stakes were higher than she had ever anticipated. How did her family's past tie into this moment? How could it destroy me? Sarah spat, her heart racing faster. They don't care about my name. This is about the people, about change, not your legacy. It was then Marco stepped up beside her again, his face a mask of emotion. Sarah, listen, no. I can't let them silence me now. The words spilled from her mouth with passion. I want to go back into hiding. Ava caught Sarah's arm, squeezing it gently for support. You're right. We can't let fear dictate what we do next. Suddenly, a voice boomed from the back, cutting through the clamor like a knife. But what if it's not just the crowd you're worried about? All heads turned toward the source. A man stepped forward, his voice calm and steady amidst the storm. What if the media gets wind of this? What if they dig up your past? For a moment, silence blanketed the scene. Sarah felt the weight of every lost chance, every muted voice gathering inside her. Fear clutched at her. What had she actually unleashed? Would they turn this into a spectacle? The crowd waited, breaths collectively held, as the shadows loomed larger, threatening to swallow her whole. Could they really speak up, even with everything they stood to lose? Would she find enough strength to face not only her family, but also the world watching? The tension thickened once again, and a single thought echoed in her mind: who would stand with her against the tide? In the eye of the storm that Sarah found herself in, a flicker of determination ignited. She felt the weight of thousands of eyes, their hopes and fears merging into one powerful energy, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a new beginning. Ava's voice cut through the tension. What is in your past doesn't define who you are today, Sarah. We're here to redefine that narrative together. The crowd murmured in acceptance. Maybe they sensed it too. Maybe they understood that boldness could push back against the shadows lingering above them. Sarah looked at her mother, still holding on to the remnants of the woman she once knew. I have a voice now, Mom. I won't let you or anyone else take that away from me. We're fighting for our community, and for the dreams we've buried. I want you to be a part of it, but I will not hide anymore. A veil lifted from her mother's eyes, revealing vulnerability that softened Marlene's fierce facade. But what if they don't accept you? Her voice wavered, raw with maternal fear. Then we will show them why we deserve to be accepted. Sarah shot back, emboldened. The crowd roared in approval. There was a collective heartbeat thriving on courage. The officer's jaw tightened. He could see the tide turning. You're creating chaos. If you don't disperse now, you will be arrested for inciting a riot. That's not going to happen. Ava interjected, stepping forward. She radiated authority, as though she was drawing lines in the sand. This isn't chaos. It's conversation. It's empowerment. If they're here to be heard, we want to be silenced. Sarah locked eyes with Marco, grounding herself in the presence that had supported her thus far. Together, she cried out again, rallying her friends and family. This is not just my voice, it's all of ours. The community center matters to everyone. Let us fight for it. With each chant of agreement, the air crackled with energy, reigniting Sarah's resolve. She turned toward her father, standing a few feet away, his expression shifting from anger to a contemplation she had never seen before. Maybe there was room for dialogue after all. Dad, she pleaded, her voice rising above the chants. Join us. Help us make things better. You can help me reach the people who need it the most, the ones who need to feel heard. The silence that stretched felt infinite, but within it, Sarah saw something drop in her father, a glimmer of uncertainty, a fight against the conditioning he had held onto for so long. It's not that simple, he finally said, though his words trembled, a testament to the battle inside him. It is. It's simple because it's about love and community, about supporting one another. I know you want to protect me, but your protection shouldn't come at the cost of my happiness." The crowd was captivated, waiting breathlessly. Sarah's heart raced, feeling the rising stakes gripping them all. We're no longer children hiding. We're individuals who deserve to chase our dreams together. Let us build, not destroy. Show me that you believe. As the crowd echoed her plea, the air thickened with an emotion that seemed to twist in Sarah's gut. Was it hope? Then her father's face softened, and he took a step closer. "I've always wanted the best for you, Sarah." "Then allow me to define what best means," she said, tears stinging her eyes. "Let me choose my own path." In that moment, a shift occurred not only in her father, but radiating through the community, transforming fear into resolve. Marlene stepped forward too, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I see it now. I only wanted to protect you, but in doing so, I lost sight of who you are." The crowd was silent, absorbing this moment of vulnerability. Sarah felt warmth surge through her as she reached out to her mother, pulling her into an embrace. The hesitant contact melted walls previously unbreached. "You are still my mother," she whispered. "I need your support, not your judgment." "That's what you'll get," Marlene replied, her voice breaking. Around them, the crowd erupted into applause, an affirmation of unity and the power of familial bonds. And then, as if on cue, the atmosphere shifted again. Ava raised a hand, signaling the crowd to quiet down. "Now is our moment. Let us make it clear that we're here to stay, here to build." With a nod, Sarah saw Marco step forward, guitar in hand, a smile breaking across his face. "Let us sing together," he called out, and Sarah's heart soared. She took her own deep breath, tapping into the shared strength pulsing through the crowd. Together they began to sing a melody stronger than any individual voice, weaving their hopes of community, change, and acceptance into a powerful anthem that echoed over the square. The lyrics matched their emotions, resonating deep within every heart present, climbing higher and higher, becoming an embrace they all shared. In that moment, Sarah realized this was what she had always longed for, not just her own freedom, but a collective awakening. The fears that once held her captive began to dissipate, giving way to the burgeoning light that was her true self. As the last note floated into the night, it was more than just a song. It was a symbol, a declaration that they were united, that they would stand together, rise together, and face every storm with hope, love, and resilience. When the cheers began to swell, washing over Sarah in waves, she knew it was only the beginning of her new life, one that would spark change in her heart and throughout the town. And as Sarah grasped Marco's hand tighter, she felt the threads of connection holding them all together, the threads of a community reborn. As the night sky above glimmered with stars, a familiar warmth enveloped Sarah, wrapping her in assurance that she had chosen a path worthy of every breath she took. She smiled, knowing that her journey had just begun. Now to you, yes you. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your voice matters, so let us spread the word.